Lose yourself in a good book. The Bord Gáis Energy Book Club.
And the book club choice for February is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, a classic novel which, though published 200 years ago, remains popular to this very day.
Now, we recently took a trip to St Louis High School in Rathmines in Dublin to find out whether the transition year students there enjoy the book and to see if they think it still holds any relevance to their lives today. Here's what they had to say.
Pride and Prejudice. This is a story about 5 girls and they're all sisters and they live in a town called Longbourn. They have very embarrassing parents, especially the mother. And the mother's aim is to get all of her daughters married.
Jane's the eldest, she's kind of the prettiest. You've Elizabeth, who's also pretty but she's very witty. You've Mary, who's plain, but because she's plain she tries to, you know, play piano and do stuff like that. And you've got Catherine and Lydia, who are the youngest and kind of silly.
Elizabeth meets Mr. Darcy at a ball, and originally they don't really like each other. Mr. Darcy thinks that she's very below him because he's very rich, a gentleman, and she's just not. She's just not of his class. And just through a lot of things and another proposal, Mr. Collins proposes to Elizabeth and she declines because she's searching for love. And in the end she does find it in Mr. Darcy later, and so does her sister Jane and Mr. Bingley, even though there was so much conflict going on there.
It's just kind of like the eternal story of boy meets girl. They don't get along, but then they look past their differences, their prejudgments on each other, and they get to know each other and they just find out that they love each other.
I was really interested in it because I really like classic kind of books, because I feel like it sets a story to history, so it's more interesting and you really get to see what it's like back in that time.
I really enjoyed reading the book. I think the storyline was really good. It was really interesting because there's all different relationships going on, but then they all tied in together at the same time.
I really liked the book. I thought it was really relatable, especially because you've the universal theme of love, which everyone can relate to, and then you've got things like annoying family members, embarrassing you in front of the guy you like and stuff like that.
I really like the way Elizabeth is such a strong female lead character, and the way so much of what she thought and what she did, like you can see yourself in it, so then you really do sympathise with her in the situation she's in, because her situation may be quite alien to young girls now, but the way she responds to it is still the same.
Well, I loved Elizabeth and Darcy, of course, but I also thought that Mr. Collins was very funny because you know, he was always going on about Lady Catherine de Bourgh and her wealth, and he was just quite a silly character, really.
I thought it was very funny, especially Mrs. Bennet. It was like she was blatantly trying to embarrass her daughters at any given moment.
I didn't think it was old-fashioned. I thought it was very interesting because you can relate to the story, like sisters, the way the family goes on, the way the mom's always at the sisters for doing stuff, and moms are still like that, mothers are still like that nowadays, and then the sisters moaning at each other and trying to look out for each other as well, so you can connect to it, and I think that's what's good about it.
Girls didn't go to school, they didn't have an education, they didn't get a job or nothing. Like they just stayed at home and they gardened or they sewed or they played instruments, whereas the men, they're the ones that put in the work.
It's sad to see how they live because like now you can marry whoever you want, and well, in some countries you can, but back then it was all just laid out for you. You couldn't choose what you were going to do or where you were going to work, and women couldn't work.
Reading it now it just shows how much we've come along, how much respect women have earned, how different men are right now. We all see each other as equal. We see past the gender and see that we're all human. So, and it doesn't matter where you come from, your background or anything. You just need to get to know the person, and that's all I really want.
Well, when you finish reading it, you're kind of relieved that it's the happy ending. You finally got there, because for so much of the book, it's nearly there, and then something gets in the way, and it's kind of frustrating almost. And you feel so sorry for Elizabeth, and you just want things to work out. But then they do in the end.
Well, I think it's probably the ultimate sort of the beginnings of the chick lit, so I'd say women would be more interested in it.
Anybody from my age onwards really would be interested in this sort of book.
anyone who hasn't read it before, I'd say, why haven't you read it before? It's a wonderful book, and I know it seems hard to read classics, and it is at the start, but you just click into it almost.
Now, congratulations to Susan Colgan from Dublin, who was this month's winner of the Book Club competition for her witty review of Pride and Prejudice. Now, for the month of March, our chosen book is Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. Originally published in 2004, it's again attracting attention due to the release of the film adaptation last week.
So if you'd like to be in with a chance of winning a BlackBerry Playbook, then send us your 50-word review of Cloud Atlas by Friday, March the 22nd. Reviews should be emailed to irelandam@tv3.ie, or you can send them by post to Bord Gáis Energy Book Club, TV3 Westgate Business Park, Ballymount, Dublin 24. And you can also enter through our website, tv3.ie/book club.
Lose yourself in a good book. The Bord Gáis Energy Book Club.